Hello and welcome to the Meeple Minded. My name is Jason and today we are working together to build vast thematic lands and epic thrill rides as we are checking out Theme Park Mania. In Theme Park Mania, players are working together to create the world's most awesome theme park experience by placing down paths, rides, train lines, and a variety of theme-heavy shopping and dining facilities, and then enjoying the fruits of your labour in a somewhat race to the finish line. The components in this game are frankly stunning. The deluxe edition of the game that I have contains some pretty nice updates, including the golden mascots. But the base retail version also has a great production, with the punchboard pieces being of a decent substantial thickness, with visually eye-catching artwork. Though it does look a little concerning just how much AI art has clearly been used. While some of the tokens appear to have been printed off center, it's not drastic enough for me to really care all that much about it. But I would say that the variation in color of some of the tokens does stand out a lot more and has a little bit more of a concerning edge to it. Because some of the card backs, or some of the token backs rather, might give away what tokens there are underneath, should you know the game that well. The box does come with a box insert of sorts that splits the box into sections, and it sort of works, but it also doesn't do the best job of keeping things in place, as it's not quite fully all the way down in the box, and it's just not that solid, really. The rulebook within the game looks fantastic, and I say looks fantastic because it really does look fantastic and it looks incredibly well done. The truth of the matter is though, the rulebook doesn't actually convey all the rules that it needs to convey. You know, in certain places it tells you the same rule about 3 or 4 times, but then in other sections it doesn't tell you the rule that you actually need to know at that point in the rulebook, so it's really not very good as a rulebook, and it can get quite confusing throughout the game. Gameplay has some interesting things going on, with players working together to place paths and train tracks around the park, while theme-wise this makes no sense, as you actually get paid to build those rather than having to pay for them, which was a little bit strange. Once paths are down, rides can start being built by the players, which also have to be connected to facilities, which is very good on theme because you've got a nice thematic land attached to your rides, and having mechanisms involved where you have to hire the correct staff in order to run your park, which again is great on theme, but has issues which I will talk about in my summary. And of course, what game would be complete without a deck of events? Well, I say deck of events, they're mixed in amongst the movement cards that players will be drawing. And those events are pretty good because they will change the state of the board, as well as others that could score you some game points if you meet the criteria. Then the grand opening gives you the extra option to walk around your own park and ride those rides, which again is a very interesting element to the game. Okay guys, so here we are for the summary and overall review of the game, and I'm somewhat lost for words, and unfortunately I don't mean that in a good way. The game has actually been fast-tracked up the list of games I have to review because I want to get it out of my collection sooner rather than later. Let me start by saying I am a huge fan of the theme and the components in the game, and that ultimately is where my positives unfortunately have to end. The game feels half-baked, rushed to print, And it's all about making the game look good at the sacrifice of the mechanisms and creativity of the design. I'll go into more detail about that in just a second, and exactly what certain things it is that I don't like about the game, but if you're here literally to find out if I recommend the game, I'll give you the short answer. It's no, I don't. Thanks for watching, hopefully we'll see you again. But what the hell has happened here? I was so excited for this game, over the moon in fact, to see a theme park building game that actually looked the part. And then this slog of a game where mandatory actions are forced upon players, like the inability to build rides without first hiring a mechanic. That is literally needed in the first couple of turns after you build some paths to get some money, because you don't start the game with any money. As soon as you've got money, you need to buy a mechanic to be able to build rides. Why did I not just start the game with a mechanic? Starting the game with no money. Alright, it gets players to put some paths down. Whoopee-doo! You then force them to spend the money to hire a mechanic, which means they've then got to put more paths down. It becomes pathing simulator. But the mechanic is just unforgivable. It's required in the first couple of turns. It needs to be on your board at the start, or just non-existent in the game. Maybe just have the mechanic there to fix the rides when they go wrong, which can happen throughout the game. It leads me on to the next thing, right? So you start the game with 5 potential actions you can do. Once the park is open, a 6th possible action, which is enter the park and ride the ride. When you visit a ride, you gain money as if you're paid to enter the park, as if it's some kind of park that is that bad they pay you to come in, and then you have to pay the owner of the ride whatever they're due from however many facilities they've attached to it. And it's just, this makes no logical sense. It really doesn't make any sense. And it just kind of feels like they've designed this game and then gone, oh, hang on a minute, it's really hard to earn money in this. Alright, we'll just pay people to come into the park and we'll pay them to put down paths and train tracks. Well, of course you're going to end up with a theme park full of paths, because people need to do it to get some money to build the damn rides, because the rides cost at least $5. To build one ride, you have got to put down, in a 4-player game, mind, you've got to put down at least 3 paths to get 6 money. In anything less than a 4-player game, you only get $1 per piece of path you put down. So to build a ride, you've got to build 5 paths. That's 1 player. You've got 3 players doing that. We've already got 15 pathways down before anyone can put a ride down. It's just, it's ridiculous. The sprawling of the game is crazy. I've got a massive table here. We played it last night and it was full. If you've got anything less than a 5-foot table, don't even bother. You just don't have the space for the game. There's a mechanic in the game as well, where if you fully enclose a ride, by the end of the game you get an additional 2 points. Forget it. It's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. For 2 points, it is totally worthless. If people see that you're trying to do it with paths, they will deliberately place a path to veer that off. You've then got to use single scenery tiles in order to surround your rides, and they cost $1 each for a tiny little square. You'd end up spending $5, $6, $7 to try and seal it in if you're in a big area. All that for 2 victory points. It's just not worth it. There's just no thought process that's gone into that whatsoever. I feel exhausted with all the negativity I've had already spewed about this game, and yet I'm still not done. I need to wrap the video up. I'm going to literally choose one more thing. The biggest issue. The game is just not satisfying. In a 4-player game, good 2 hours, if not more, playing this game, and it's just not satisfying. It just feels rushed. It feels clunky. It feels like an original Kickstarter game where you knew that you were going to get something that wasn't finished and half-baked, where most of the rules you're going to have to make up yourself. This is not what I expect receiving a game in 2024, 2025. There are so many better games out there for this price. It's such a shame because they've done an amazing job at making it look good. The game is some of the best looking trash I think I've ever seen, but the fact is, it's trash. And that's likely where this game's going to end up sooner rather than later.